These are your teacher resource videos brought to you by Education Technology in the Classroom, sponsored by Graham Passmore, PhD of Lakehead University. Yay! Today for our teacher resource video, we are going to talk about blended learning and how the flipped classroom can help you achieve this model in your classroom. Classrooms have always looked the exact same in Ontario and have been set up the same way from grade 1 to university. Rows of desks that all face the front of the classroom where there's a board and the teacher. This type of setup, called the lecture learning style, allows no room for interaction and puts the focus solely on the teacher. This is less beneficial for student learning because with the lecture learning style, students tend to be less engaged. This is because lecture learning is less personal and there's more of a disconnect between the teacher and the students. Studies have shown that without interaction or engagement from the students to apply the information learned in class is not beneficial for students' maximum learning, and that with the lecture classroom, students are more likely to become disengaged. So why has this style of classroom been around for so long? Times have changed and classroom setup is improving in Ontario every day. By simply flipping the classroom setting and putting the focus on the students rather than the teacher, this can open up engagement in the classroom and promote more beneficial learning. This is where blended learning comes into play. Blended learning is a mixture of lecture from the teacher, student research on own time, in-class research, group work, and more. With that said, studies show that with blended learning, teachers are able to focus on each student more personally and in a smaller group. Students are more engaged, retain more information, do more critical thinking, and learn more, while having a better and deeper understanding of concepts learned in class. With blended learning, students are able to learn materials at their own pace, while the teacher only focuses on evaluating how in-depth the students go in their lesson. Students are in charge. They are responsible for extra research on the topic, the in-depth of the information, and their small group discussions, while the teacher provides students with resources or digital content to start their research, the application of the information learned, and how they want to evaluate their students. In order to incorporate a blended learning strategy in the classroom, a class rotation environment is best. In the classroom, this will look like a couple of different stations set up around the classroom where students will be split up into smaller groups to ensure that each student can speak and put across their own ideas. Each group of students will start at one of the stations, and every couple of minutes, the groups will rotate. The number of stations, the amount of time at each station, the number of students at each station, and the activities the students will be doing at each station will be facilitated by the teacher. But the discussion by the students and the depth of the information is the responsibility of the students. Here's an example of what the groups of the classroom rotation setup and the lesson that incorporates blended learning could look like. If you have 20 students in your classroom, you could split them up into groups of 4 students and have 5 different station rotations. 2 stations should be devoted to computer stations where students can do research and find resources on the topic of the lesson. The first computer station could be individual research. The second station for computers can be group research. The third station can be devoted to grouping the students' research together and finding the similarities of the students' research and the different ideas found. The fourth station would be with the teacher to discuss what the students found during their research. The fifth station can be an activity based around the topic of the lesson where students have to use the information found during their research stations and work together to find the answers. With this style, students are responsible for their own learning and their achievements in the classroom, while learning from each other, anchored by the teacher.
So the benefits of blended learning is that it increases the students' opportunity to engage with technology. And so an example of blended learning that teachers have been using is the flipped classroom strategies. So incorporating a school computer lab and computers using digital curriculum in the classroom. So the flipped classroom is adopting new learning environments that is beneficial for both the teachers and the students. In order to get started in adopting the blended learning strategies is that we need to take in consideration the model, the platform, the finance, and staffing to develop integrated plans for teaching and learning. Alright, so I'm just going to explain a little bit about the flipped classroom. So the flipped classroom inverts traditional classroom methods by delivering instruction online and bringing the homework into the classroom. So what teachers need to prepare is that they deliver like maybe 3 videos per week, so students can watch lectures at their own pace and communicate with their peers and teachers via like an online classroom discussion or in Google Docs. And then students come to class with specific questions and gain the one-on-one time that most students wouldn't get in a traditional classroom. And then it helps the teachers as well, because then they can come to class knowing specific questions and concerns that a student may have. So a big question is, why is the flipped classroom being introduced, and what is driving it? So the traditional one-size-fits-all model of education often results in limited concept engagement and even severe consequences, such as students dropping out or feeling neglected or not even finishing school. Here's a little diagram that I found online, and it kind of shows the theoretical framework of technology, of technology uses in the classroom. And so it influences the students' learning environment in a lot of ways, because students are learning through activity and they're using educational technology to help them. Other benefits of the flipped classroom is that students nowadays have more and more access to technology, and so the access to technology kind of paved the way for the flipped classrooms. And then students watch their videos on their own time, or if they have no access to technology, then they can watch the videos in a library or at school. And then when students and teachers actually get together in the classroom, then they can spend their time applying the lesson in labs or in interactive activities to illustrate the concepts. So you're not wasting the time of just explaining everything, but you're able to actually apply the knowledge that you're getting.